Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Spider-Man on PS4. So, how this playthrough is mostly going to work is I'll be doing all major side quests and showing off a little bit of the minor side quests, and for like 1 or 2 parts, I'm going to be doing like general crime, swinging around, that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
So keep things... Sorry, go on.
I've always wondered, like, Wilson Fisk is one of the most powerful men in New York, and, like, Doc Ock is a genius-level scientist. Did none of them just have the idea to spy on Peter as he came home, and then
we have
we
have an explanation for that in this game regarding Otto, at least.
He's not Doc Ock yet.
okay.
So we don't get Spider-Man's origin story, but we do get Doc Ock's origin story.
Oh, that's cool.
Here's the awkward thing that we'll get into about storyline as we go along. I think they blew their load too early on a lot of the villains.
Yes.
Oh yeah, they really wanted to go from 0 to Sinister Six. Really fast in a span of a game.
Yeah, and I think they blew their load.
No,
too
they
early.
should have just focused on one villain for this one.
Well,
Yeah, because the main guy they were hyping up in all the preview stuff, Mr. Negative, really doesn't matter much.
No, he does not at all.
I think I would agree that it's kind of I don't know, it's interesting, because Spider-Man easily has the strongest lineup of bad guys out of all of Marvel's stuff. I mean, I guess you could say X-Men comes close, but
It's X-Men and Spider-Man.
I get what they were going for, and I approve of the general idea that they were going for. The execution could have been a bit smoother, but I like the idea of we're playing a game about an established Spider-Man with an established rogues gallery.
So I would. Here's the thing. It would have been fine if Mr. Negative assembled the Sinister Six for the most part, and then they used all the auto stuff to lead into 2. Because obviously you have a lot of Norman and all that stuff going on too, so you have very much.
Oh, they try to put Green Goblin in this game too.
Well, no, he's not in this game, but Norman is.
Oh, okay.
So you have
they
more
did leave
than
some stuff. Okay.
Yeah, so you have more than enough to set up basically a good trilogy worth of villains. But they kind of basically they use Doc Ock already in this game too, so it's kind of like you used basically everyone except for Goblin.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think anybody would really mind if, like, they bring back some of the minor people, like Sandman or Rhino or stuff like that. But, you know,
Wait, really, you get John Lovitz out of this.
He looks exactly like John Lovitz with glasses.
I don't think he looks anything like John Lovitz.
I have no idea who that is. I mean, it's obvious what they're going for with Doc Ock. Just like starting on Kingpin was a callback to the '90s cartoon, starting on Doc Ock is a callback to the old movie trilogy, because Doc Ock was by far the most memorable of the villains in that set. They even call back to it with a little gag where he tries to stop a train with the webs and the webs break, and he's like, that worked last time. But oh boy.
it's always interesting to see how they try to build the different arms for Doc Ock, because each different incarnation kind of handles them differently, because there's so much different science that you could do for them. Like, one of my favorites is the Enter the Spider-Verse version, where they're like made of rubber tubes, and I'm like, oh, that's really, really cool. I never would have thought of that before.
Is anyone hurt?
You know?
Although
I think in today's day and age, the idea that you could make these things, like, I don't know, the science for Doc Ock just doesn't seem as fantastic as it does.
Well, because
in
we
the
can.
60s.
I was gonna say because we can functionally do what the arms do now.
Yeah, pretty much. Like, they're
Not obviously not like put them on a backpack and swing around and stuff, but it's like you have long-reaching robotic arms for very particular movements and coordination and things. Yeah, no, we do that already.
Yeah, there's a bunch of Boston Dynamics robots and stuff like that could probably do Doc Ock stuff. The thing that would be like high science about it would be like moving them with your brain.
Yes.
Much,
Yeah.
It's kind of like Doc Ock has repeatedly tried to do the Batman animated series Mr. Freeze effect of having a way more interesting backstory than he originally did, I think. And it's weird. He kind of succeeds more often than he fails.
No, Doc Ock was, I think, for a really long time, the Spider-Man villain. And he's still, I think, like, one of the first ones people would think of. But a lot of people kind of forget that before the whole Gwen Stacy thing happened, Green Goblin was a fairly minor Spider-Man villain who wasn't super popular, and it was that storyline that made him like number 1 or 2 Spider-Man villain.
Even then, in the 90s cartoon, he wasn't a major player.
Yeah, and then Venom came out after that as well, and Venom.
And he was kind of number 1 for a while. Yeah.
Venom. I read, I think, the original Venom comic story, or maybe it was a second incarnation. I don't know. It was a pretty good comic story. I could
Venom is, you see, here's the thing about Venom that I don't like is that I've only ever liked his first story.
Oh, so he's Bane.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, kind of. Like, the first story with Venom, I think, is really, really interesting. But then after that, he just kind of exists and doesn't add to anything. And the other problem is that so many Spider-Man series want to jump to Venom so fast, they don't actually get the part that made... The Black Suit arc was what made Venom a good villain. And that's one of my favorite things about...
the 90s show.
Well, also about Spectacular Spider-Man as well, is that they build up the entire first season to Venom. Like, it takes a long time for you to get to him, and that payoff is great when you do get there. You know?
Yeah, I'm just one of those. It's like, how are we in the year 2021 still have only had like one like super good adaptation of the Black Suit arc?
I know it's weird. The problem is, like, I think Spider-Man 3 has a lot of problems, but one of the big ones is that they wanted to do Black Suit Spider-Man and Venom all in one movie, and it doesn't really work like that. You need to have Peter...
and then Raimi wanted to shove Sandman in there for no real reason.
Yeah, like, Black Suit Spider-Man needed to be a 2 or maybe even 3 movie thing, because you need to see how that suit's corrupting Peter over time. You know?
Now, Ted, you'll have Dance Number.
Oh man, you know what?
I would say my mind was going through all sorts of weird dimensions here when you were describing Venom as Bane, and then I think of the live action movie where he's played by Tom Hardy. Are we talking about the same thing here? Because I don't know what we're talking about anymore.
Look,
I'm talking about how the only particularly good comic arc that anyone knows about Bane is the first one.
Look, karma balances out all things. We might have gotten a terrible Spider-Man movie from it, but because they did the Venom arc the way they did, we got all the Bully Maguire memes, and that's worth all.
No, my favorite thing from that is the realistic dance number, where there's no music playing, it's just the Foley.
There's no music, it's just sound effects, and it is awkward as hell.
Why isn't Peter angrily eating a hot dog from Spider-Man 2 a meme? Like, that's the funniest and stupidest thing from all the Spider-Man movies for me, is when he sees, like, a cop car goes past in Spider-Man 2, and he just angrily bites into a hot dog. And that's just the funniest and worst acting to me in all 3 movies. And nobody's made a meme out of it yet. Do I have to do Christ. It? Come on.
Peter, you're acting like that hot dog killed your uncle.
It probably
just cuts to Peter in a grocery store every time he passes the instant rice aisle. He like falls onto his knees and goes, "No."
It's like he has all that emotional goodbye with his uncle, and then finds out later that his uncle just choked on a hot dog.
Remember, Peter, with great power comes great responsibility. Pass me the mustard. Man, being a scientist is easy. All you have to do is like match shit
colors
and play Pipe Dream. Man.
Okay, so
can we go get some Frosted Halos?
The fact that Spider-Man's costume got so beat up this time is actually a plot point, because it's the reason Spider-Man gets the new costume with the white stuff on the design.
I don't like the white marks.
Something I want to ask Yuri Lowenthal if we ever get the chance to like talk to him or something. Was it weird calling another character Yuri when you're trying to play Peter?
Yeah,
I get the design sensibility. The white design matches the webs and stuff, but like it doesn't really fit with the red and blue.
I was gonna say there's too much contrast.
Yeah,
I think.
Well, that's actually like in the description that Otto gives you for the costume. That's the point. The contrast fucks with the enemy's vision and makes it harder for them to fight you well. But like, it's I don't care. I don't care what makes it harder for my enemy to fight you. I'm playing a video game here.
Aesthetically,
yes,
I don't like.
Does Otto know that Peter's Spider-Man in this one?
He finds out very shortly. Yeah,
he finds out.
Okay.
Yeah.
Also, I love how they made JJ an angry podcast.
I don't know if he finds out right away that Peter is Spider-Man, but he does.
It's heavily implied he doesn't strictly know, but he basically has figured it out.
He's known for a bit.
The cover story that Peter winds up sort of accidentally fooling him into thinking is I make Spider-Man's gear. Yeah.
And the thing is, Otto knows Peter's a bad liar, so he kind of just rolls with it to protect himself about it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, I get what they were going for with the new design. I think that it does make sense if you want to separate this Spider-Man from other Spider-Men.
Yeah.
You want to give him a unique suit. I'm kind of mixed on it, on the white design.
Also, reference to the black suit arc.
Thankfully.
Oh, did it already happen in this?
Yeah, the black suit arc already happened because okay, so Yuri basically said something about like a police gathering. It's like, what? She's like, why, you want to come? Bring your best black suit. And he's just kind of like,
That's a good way to establish it, to be honest.
Oh man.
Yuri Watanabe is a character that one of the characters where, yeah, I'm kind of glad that we started in the middle of Spider-Man's arc here, because if we were starting at like the beginning, we wouldn't be seeing this character here.
Isn't Yuri the cop that dies that Peter was friends with, or am I thinking of someone else?
I mean, I'm sure it depends on the continuity, but she's effectively our Commissioner Gordon. So
no, there was another cop that Peter generally worked with that like died because Peter screwed up, because that's what happens to everybody Peter likes. But God, I can't remember her name for the life of me. The comment section already knows.
Oh no.
Boy, why did they have to copy this from the Arkham games too? Did anybody like that in the Arkham games? Did that needed to be copied?
I mean,
no, Ubisoft Towers. What the hell are you talking?
Yeah,
what?
I told you, Ubisoftification, but you know, it's it does. There's a reason that the Ubisoft formula works, and it's a very addictive gameplay loop when it's done right. I think this game errs on the side of doing it right more often than wrong. So
yeah, it's just a matter of we have way too many of these kinds of games, so it feels a bit repetitive even when it's done well.
There's a reason, like even Assassin's Creed sort of moved away from that. It's gotten old.
I'd say the only other game that did it particularly well was Horizon, if only because it made it more naturally fit into the world.
For one thing, the Ubisoft towers in that case were giant fucking giraffe robots, but you know.
Breath of the Wild had Ubisoft towers too, though.
Yes, and they were just literally towers.
Yeah.
Yeah, it wasn't particularly compelling in Breath of the Wild's case. I mean, people generally gave Breath of the Wild some leeway for its derivative elements just because it was a really new experience for a Zelda game.
I think it's also because a lot of Nintendo fans don't play non-Nintendo games, so they haven't seen a lot of the Ubisoft Tower kind of thing before, you know.
Which isn't to say that that Breath of the Wild is by any stretch of the imagination bad, just that a lot of the elements in it have been done before by other games. And that can be said for pretty much
Spider Cop.
It can be said for pretty much everything in Horizon Zero Dawn. Its immediate contemporary too. So we were in the middle of a very iterative game development time at that point.
I said back off.
What time of year is this game set in? Like
early fall, I think.
Early fall, okay. Cause
we seem to be approaching Christmas.
Well, that's why.
So it's September. Okay, good to know.
That's good. I was going to say that's early fall. so basically, we can tell based on the decorations, and more or less, the Miles Morales game happens a few months.
I like how you frickin' flip a whole trash can over your head in a loop, and it bops this guy in the head, and he just stumbles slightly.
The trash can's probably empty.
Oh, you missed.
Well, I tied him I webbed him to the
Spider-Man hates asphalt.
Let me go.
Man,
I know Batman does this.
The trash cans are made with the same fucking biology as Ganados.
So do you have limited web in this game, or no?
Sort of.
Sort
the
of.
web counter up on the top there is how many shots I have. It does refill on its own over time, though.
I knew
Okay.
Jameson was wrong about you.
So basically, you can't just spam it, but it is not inherently a resource.
It's also not just straight up organic webbing.
Okay,
either.
so, but it won't, like, go down while you're swinging around or whatever.
No, not at all.
So basically,
No, yeah,
they're imitating the comics in that it will only ever run out of web when it's dramatically convenient for it to do so.
Yes, that's one of the main. That's
Exactly.
one of the main reasons why I have always hated the web shooters.
Yeah, it's like
they only exist to run out at the most inconvenient times. That is all they exist for.
Yeah, I mean, it's just like one of those things where you don't see Peter like swinging home from getting a taco or whatever and be like, "Oh, I'm running low on web." You know, it's only like, "Oh no, I'm in the middle of a life or death fight against Venom," and "Oh no, I'm out of web. I'm gonna fall."
I want to see Peter Parker start doing trick reloads with his web shooters one of these days. Just like frickin' slow motion Devil May Cry 4 twirl in place.
I was gonna say revolver onslaught web swinging.
Do you think that Peter like hangs up sticky notes using the web? Like it's just like need to buy milk and you like it's onto the wall or whatever.
Look, he used his web shooters to retrieve his toast at the beginning of the game. So I'm pretty sure he does that.
It's like that sounds kind of gross actually.
It
like,
does.
What do you think they taste like, you know? Like ew, no thanks.
I like mundane uses of power that just get used all the time.
Oh yeah,
That was like
one
the
of the
only good thing about the Fantastic Four movie, the older one, was that like they do that all the time, and they did emulate that from the comics. It's just the everything else about that movie.
One of the most charming pages in the Power Girl Power Trip book was this one page where Power Girl is going through her boring morning routine. It's all square panels, and like just in the middle of it all, there's a panel with her shaving her legs with her heat vision.
I mean, Clark does that too when he's shaving his beard.
Wait, hold on a moment. If
web-
Peter's web shots are supposed to like dissolve within an hour or two, why are those backpacks still latched?
I have a better question.
Does he like
how the hell? I have a better question. How the hell did teenage Peter afford 50 different backpacks?
That's a good question, Mega Man.
I like the way this sandbox collectathon mission is set up, where it's just stuff that you yourself have scattered around the city. So it's like, I don't know. I guess
it's also a neat way to establish lore, because you can go in and read descriptions. So you can find out, it's like, oh, what did Peter do in high school? What did Peter do in early college, and things like that.
There's 55 backpacks. Let's assume he gets them on sale still, right? Let's say like he gets because a normal backpack's like $100. Let's say he gets a beat up used one for 20.
Like
100.
Yeah.
Look,
Yeah, that's how much backpacks are right now. So let's assume he gets a beat up one for 20. That's still like $250. Teenage Spider-Man who has no money spent on backpacks.
Okay, look, if you were an eagle-eyed viewer, you probably checked Peter's receipt for his French fries in Into the Spider-Verse, and the price was ridiculous. So he's got money. The reason he's constantly getting evicted isn't because he doesn't have money. It's because he's terrible about spending it. As such, he's obviously my spirit animal, but, you know.
Well, no, this is like teenage Peter, though, where teenage Peter definitely
Doesn't
had
have
problems with money. Like, I absolutely believe that 25-year-old Peter Parker, you know, goes to some up-class diner and gets $13 chili fries.
$13.
And then wonders, like, why can't I pay rent? I only spend $15,000 on avocado toast. You know, like, I absolutely believe that Peter does that.
You're what's wrong with this generation, Parker.
I mean, he does live in the middle of New York City, like one of the most expensive places ever.
Yeah, so, you know, it's just like, man, why can't I pay my rent? I only spent $5,000 upgrading my Spider-Man gear, and then another $6,000 on my gaming rig, and then another $7,000 on these nacho fries. I'm just imagining that drill tweet.
Yeah, does Uber Eats exist in Spider-Man?
That drill tweet where it's like, rent $200, candles $17,000. Please help me balance my checkbook. My family is dying. Stop buying candles.
One of the other things that this game handles perfectly is Spider-Man's nerdy ass dialogue.
Oh, I love his bit with Yuri about Spider Cop.
Spider Cop was excellent.
And then Spider Cop actually appears in one of the comics.
You know, it's just one of those things where one of the kind of minor details I love about the Marvel Universe is that every single villain in Marvel hates dealing with Spider-Man because he's just so obnoxious.
Because he never shuts up.
And also, none of the other heroes like teaming up with Spider-Man because he's so obnoxious. Like the only one who does
it's
it with
one of the best things about this game.
One of the only ones who do it with any regularity is Daredevil, and that's just because he's like the Squidward to Spider-Man SpongeBob, pretty much. He's like, hi neighbor. He's like
they all live within blocks of each other at this point. That's why one of the best bits is in a Deadpool comic where he's trying to assassinate someone and there's just heroes everywhere.
Yeah, it's like, oh, I love that run of Deadpool comics. Like he's literally trying to assassinate. I think it is actually Daredevil. I think it's Matt Murdock, and then like he's got Matt Murdock in his sniper rifle, and then like Thor, Iron Man, and 4 X-Men just fly through the sights, and they're fighting like a dinosaur or something in the middle of the street. It's like, why does anybody live in New York? Seriously, doing crime has got to be the worst idea in this city.
It's like Marvel New York has like got to be like the worst place to ever try to commit a crime. Just go somewhere else.
You jaywalk and then suddenly Doctor Strange throws you into a trash can. You know, like why bother?
At the same time, though, consider. If crime is so hard to do in New York, the premiums have got to be through the roof. Like, you'd probably be getting paid decent money if you manage to pull it off. Maybe that's what keeps enticing them. Think about that. Yeah. Idiots.